Well. Oh, so imagine you're going to be on the Metamidian in a couple weeks.
Yeah, 27th, I guess.
Let me look. Yeah, 27th.
Yeah,
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Rob. Rob, what are you doing? Throwing me off my game here. We are live with the post-game show here at twitch.tv/the Rob and Dan Show. We're joined by Imagine from the Anvil side of things. Remember, check him out. Imagine42 is his Twitch page. Imagine42 Gaming is his YouTube page. Make sure to check all that stuff out. You have all of the replays over there, correct?
Yeah, I'm actually in process of putting up the this week's as well. I got to do a little bit of editing on this one because I actually had internet drop a couple times, so I got to put a couple of recordings together. But they should be up in the next hour and a half or so.
There we go. Now, we just saw everything that happened over on the Hammer side of things. What happened over on the Anvil side of things for today?
I think Anvil's side for once was a little bit calm. I think the teams that most people thought would win actually won. You had Sacrilege taking out the Art of Warfare. I think it was like a 4-0 score, like right at the end. The time ran out, even though they were to get the fifth kill regardless. So unfortunately, the streak for the Art of Warfare continues where they still haven't gotten a kill in 3
That's going to be a tough situation for 2 teams.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a little bit of a downside for them. Hopefully, they can come back. It's a learning process for them, definitely.
Yeah.
And then we had Sky Invading Rhinos take out Cake, so Cake loses their first match.
Yeah, they lost 5-3.
Yeah, it was close. Cake actually did a great job. They were down 3-0, and they came back to tie at 3-3, but just took too much damage.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to pick up 3 kills without at least taking some hull damage.
Yeah, and it was some Parrotin as well. There were some funky loadouts going on today. I will tell you, there was some. We had a double Gatling Pyra today.
That's Laws of the Pyrrha.
Yeah, we had a double Hades on from BFS later. We had on I think one of the Sky Invading Rhinos was a Gat Carronade on Parrotin versus double. It was double Pyra on the other side as well. So.
I understand the theory behind it. I don't like it. It doesn't mean I have to like it or think that's going to work.
They won, so good for them. And then the last game, which was kind of like a coin flip between the 2 teams, especially if you took a look at like the tipping thread. The Merrymen ended up taking out BFS. I think it was either 5-3 or 5-2. I don't recall it to scroll off the top of my head right now. But it was fairly typical long range sniping going on, and I think BFS just didn't quite have the build for it. Oh yeah, and we had a double Hades from Gilder on his Pyra, and he was trying to push forward with that, and it just ended up not working out very well.
We've seen double Hades happen a couple times, and it seems like it doesn't really ever work out like it's theorized on paper.
Yeah, I mean, like I get the kind of the idea behind it, especially if you can get your teammate to, I don't know, maybe have like a flak or an Artemis to take it out, but the other ship was a Gat mortar. So I don't know, like you're trying to strip a lot of hull with the Hades, but what are you really trying to do afterwards? Hades itself will do a lot of damage, but why are you sacrificing the power of flak for a second Hades? Maybe try to take out components, I guess, but if you got a good Chem Spray rotation, like what is that going to accomplish? And then they tried to charge with it, and the problem is that not only do they have double Hades, but so many Hades misses.
That's tough to deal with, especially if you're not hitting with the Hades. Whether or not you're in range, it's not going to function. You're not getting the fire damage stacked up. You're not getting the consistent damage on the hull, on the armor. It doesn't function. So,
well, I mean, like one of the really powerful things about the Hades is the fire. And when you don't have any sort of disable going, then Chem Spray cycles are easy to keep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we had Sack over Art of War, we had Sir over Cake, and we had Merrymen over BFS. Over on our side of things, we didn't get Global Art of Thralls versus Mad Hatters. Mad Hatters had to step out for this week. Hopefully we're going to see him next week. I do believe we are.
I think so. I think they're getting their affairs in order and they'll be fine for next week. That's what I'm hearing, at least. Grinning Jinx has sort of been chatting with me, and I've been hearing about the situation. It looks like they're going to be around.
Certainly, that's good to hear. Then we had Muse taking out the Clamor,
which is just, by the way.
Yeah, what the hell? Okay, so here's the thing. So were you watching that at all, Imagine? Like, did you get to see any of it?
I was not able to catch any part of it,
Okay, I was going absolutely insane because it's not that I feel like it's not that the Musosaurs did anything super differently. I mean, they played fine. Like, they played great.
They played a solid game.
Absolutely. But the Clamor just made so many errors. Like, there was they did three things wrong, I think. Like, the first two are the big ones. The first two are the big ones. The first one is they were flying Junkers super low in Persian Rumble, and they had Hades Artemis. It's like, why?
And they were facing a Junker.
Yeah,
they were a lumberjack.
Yeah, they're fighting a lumberfish, and they're hanging out low in the buildings. Like, that's never going to turn out well for you. And they're hanging out on top of buildings. Like, there were at least 2 instances where they got their balloons popped on top of a building. The second one was one of the ships was never using their trifecta. Like, it was always just using the front Artemis every time. They had plenty of opportunity to throw the other Hades and Artemis, or other Artemis and Hades into Arc, and they just didn't take it. And the third big mistake was they kept losing their chem spray cycles. Like, they just, it wasn't even that they were under pressure. It's that they didn't do it. And the very end, what really did them in was, they had a good position on the lumberfish. But then the lumberfish threw its flamethrower out on the Junker and caught everything except for one gun on fire. Everything was burning, save one. And they just didn't get it under control. Like, it may have been too much fire, or they were just ignoring it.
Well, I mean, when you have that much fire, especially if you don't... Did they have extinguishers at all?
No extinguishers.
No.
0.
Yeah, I mean, if you get even if you got 4 stacks on a bunch of components, that's how many seconds between chem sprays are you going to get while that's still ticking? And if you have 4 or 5 components on fire, it gets so ridiculously hard to put it out.
Yeah, at that point, you're just
missing your chem spray. If you do not bring an extinguisher and you miss your chem spray cycle, you are killing yourself. You are actually killing yourself.
No, and it was a combination of that. And I mean, the Musosaurs played too solid to allow the Clamor to get a victory. It was close. It was really damn close. Like, we thought that one team had won when it was actually the other. So obviously,
everyone,
it was so really close.
If you haven't watched, like, if you weren't able to catch the Ducks, the Clamor versus Musosaurs live, watch it on video on demand, please. The finish at the end is just, even we were like, okay, hey, well, Clamor gets the what?
No, see, I think as I've been casting more and more Guns of Icarus, I've gotten calmer. And I've sort of reined myself in. When we get really good engagements, I'll get really excited. But I've sort of brought the energy level down. But at the very end, though, it actually elicited my high-pitched what scream.
Yes, it did. And it's just that's the exact reaction everyone had. Like, if everyone noticed in the chat just erupted in.
The chat freaked out.
And now,
as did everyone there. So moving on, DPA actually takes down Overwatch.
Now, I saw that Overwatch was up 4-1, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, it was 3.
I mean, I saw that
4-1.
I think they were.
No, it was 4-1. It was 4-1.
Their ships were incredibly.
So here's what happened. It ended up 4-1. The DPA meat ground a little bit, but after the meat grinds, the Overwatch ships were heavily damaged. They went and tried to engage and get some hull damage down. They didn't get any hull damage down. 4-3. They split the engagement, and it just went on for too long. And the Goldfish didn't keep its chem spray going on its hull for some reason, and the Banshee was just allowed to do its work.
The dual Banshee did a lot of damage.
It did. I mean, they had
shockingly.
Well, they had an Artemis and 2 Banshees.
That's pretty good combo.
Like, it's good. It's good if you can get the engagement to last a long time. And Overwatch loves trying to get it loves trying to extend engagements. But I mean, when you have a Hwachafish, great. Congratulations, you got to disable. Okay, they bring their guns back up. They disable components. Get the chem spray cycles off, and then start loading everything up with Banshee fire. Like, it just went on for way too long.
This is just. Ugh.
Yeah, no, and it was funny because I was watching that Overwatch match in between our matches, and I saw that DPA got the first kill, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, like can DPA do anything? You know, it's going to be a second upset of the day, and then the next time I look over, it's 4-1, and yeah, Overwatch is kind of hurt, but are they really going to give up 4 kills? It's like, oh, okay, I guess that normalized a little bit, and then like. I don't know, like 10 minutes later, somebody in my chat goes DPA over Overwatch 5-4. And, I'm in the middle of a cast and I want to be like, what the hell just happened?
I think Dan and I would have.
Yeah, no, it was about this close, but, Got to keep it on my stream as well, but still, that's a pretty crazy comeback. I mean, I did see that the 2 Overwatch ships were incredibly hurt when it was a 4-1. So at that point, like, okay, maybe they can get it to like a 5-3 thing, but to actually come out with a victory after having lost the first 2 matches. First 2 weeks of matches for DPA and not having done like they weren't terrible by any means, but
no,
you didn't like. I wouldn't have expected them to be able to come back from that sort of a deficit versus a team like Overwatch.
Overwatch and DPA are both now 1 and 2 in the scores. That's a little. I
mean, coming into this, I thought Overwatch was going to be one of the power players. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone expected them.
But the problem I think that they're going to take away from this is that they're a little too reliant on making sure they can hold down disables while attrition damage finishes enemy ships off. Yeah, they had the opportunity there to do a quick kill. They didn't take it. They went for the attrition and the control, which I think was the downfall. If they had focused both those ships on one of those Pyramidians right away at the end charge there that they were making, they would have won. Yeah, I don't see how that couldn't have happened. Hwacha burst and that focus fire from the Pyramidian at the same time on a single ship. That's not good.
If they just gotten the Gatling down, I think, on one of the ships, like you get the Hwacha barrage to disable the second ship. Then you go in on your main target with the Gatling as the Hwacha is reloading. Once the armor's down, they'll load the Hwacha and their ally isn't able to do anything. And I guess that's kind of how the Hwacha fish should deal with every engagement where all the ships are really close. But
yeah,
they just kept it down and they allowed themselves to be disabled by that Artemis and those double Banshees.
That was just crazy.
Well, I mean, that's not to downplay the way the Deadpool army played. Like the moment that Overwatch made a mistake, like they capitalized on it. I mean, they beat ground, but then after that, like they played pretty well. I'd say the biggest mistake that Deadpool army made was the way they played their Hades Echidna Pyrrha. They come in behind someone and then they get within arming time range.
They were trying to brawl a little bit with it.
Yeah, it was kind of goofy. I mean, I guess it's just like residual meta-midian.
Okay, so
habit.
Rob has the audio from the end of the Clamor Muse game. Rob, can you play that for us real quick?
Can do. Let me just make sure the mixer's all set, and here we go.
There it is. Balloon takes the brunt of that damage, but the armor's down. Where's the mortar? It's not there. There it is. Wait. What?
What?
Wait. What? What just happened? Yeah, no, I can. I will say I have casted a few matches that you end up and like a lot of sniping going on, and you're just like, wait, both of these ships have like no hull left, and then suddenly the gaming you're just like, who won? I don't know.
What the hell happened?
Well, right at the beginning of that clip, the Clamor ship was almost like full hull and full armor. And it was just that very, very last moment you're paying attention to the Muse ship because it has nothing. And you're not even looking at the other ship, just lost everything in that moment.
Yeah. So that's what happened. Also, riders getting taken out by HRA. Again, I think that's mostly because they didn't have the normal pilots at all. Luosi, Hillerton, both not there. And as great as those pilots for the riders are, HRA is a focused death machine right now.
Yeah. So I started watching that. I had your stream up. And then I was like, all right, let me actually just pull my VODs together real quick so I can, put them in and start editing. And then I turned back and like 2 minutes had passed and it's 4-1 HRA suddenly. And just like, Well, that was unexpected. Even though I wasn't gonna call it a victory for writers, that just kind of blew me out. But I guess after today, anything can happen. So might as well have that happen.
You see all these notes I made? I have made calculations. There are 3 pages of this. This is my notes just for today.
Yeah, and then Hephaestus, the Lord of Hephaestus, the Lord of the Forge, looked down upon your list and said, "Throw that out."
Numbers mean nothing.
Burn it. Get rid of it. You don't need that anymore.
So
it shall be fuel for my forge.
Coming up next week, we have 4 matches. It is a off week for a lot of teams. We have Riders versus Mad Hatters. That's going to be a recovery week for 2 different teams.
Yeah.
Mad Hatters going to try and pull things back together, make the match, get their teams in there. Rider needs to get their act together. They really need to pull things together. I'm not sure who's going to win that. After this week, I don't even know how to make a prediction at this point. What do you guys think?
I mean, that's a tough call. If the Mad Hatters come back with the team that they know how to field and they have fielded, I would probably put them in the lead, especially if the Riders don't have both of their captains together. That's going to be a pretty tall order. Hatters are, I would say, one of the genuine favorites if they got their full team together to win everything, as they do, with pretty much every other tournament.
Well, from what I understand, Velvet will not be coming back.
Will that be fine?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure.
He's stepped out.
He has stepped out. Okay.
Fair enough.
Velvet
So
will be piloting.
it's going to be a very rough and tumble match. The thing is, I can actually really see that just spiraling out of control for one team and the other team just running away with it. Even though I would like to call it a close game, I have a feeling one team is just going to get it together right as the match starts and just okay, look, we had a rough time last week. Let's do this. And they're just going to run away. What map is that going to be on? Do you know? Or we don't actually map.
No, we don't. We're not going to know this till Wednesday.
So
those happen Wednesday.
Some of it is definitely going to rely on map rules, but I can see just one team running away with it over another. Which team is it going to be? I'm not quite sure.
I'm going to have a tough time making a prediction on that. We also have Musosaurs versus Deadpool's Army. Musosaurs, they got lucky with some major clamor mistakes on this one.
Now, I will say that, as I said before, but I don't think that was on our air yet, that last week in our roundup show, I said specifically, Muse has played well in his first 2 weeks.
Well, it's over on a YouTube channel.
And they are going to surprise somebody with a victory, and they just did. Now, the thing is, it's not it. You can make mistakes, but if the other team doesn't take advantage of those mistakes, whatever. Muse took full advantage. From what I understand, Emco was just like a god of lumberjacks today.
Yes, yes. Those lumberjack shots were on the mark.
If you can hit with a lumberjack over repeatedly, you are going to win. That's kind of how it goes. And now I know the Deadpool Army is extremely aggressive in their play, and so if you can take a lumberjack and just knock ships down as they're approaching you, what are you going to do?
It's going to be very dependent. Go ahead.
It was also up against double junker. And I mean, damn. I mean, so lumberjack, I feel like the lumberfish is countered by the Artemis, but the lumberjack also counters junkers. And so it comes down to, who can land their volley first. And the lumberjack was just accurate enough. And I think the Musosaurs were playing more defensively. They got the advantage early, and so they started playing defensively, and they were the ones that were
Which
set
was
up.
The smart decision in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the junkers, they were forced to come in. And, Artemis is very hard to land when the ship is moving, especially against such a small target. The lumberjack is way out there, so it's easy to hit if it's a stationary target. But when the junker's moving, you're going to have a hard time just because, the profile for the goldfish is very vertical. And so it's not like you can just say, okay, I'll hit it, somewhere along that horizontal axis, because there is no horizontal axis.
It's got a very tiny, slim profile.
Yeah, and so the lumberjack always got the first volley. Always.
Yeah, and additionally, something you mentioned a couple times in that game, Oracle, one of the clamor ships was simply not using their side.
It was using one Artemis.
It was using one Artemis versus 2 Artemis and a Hades.
Yeah, that's important to know. We had 2 meta junkers and then a meta junker lumberfish. So when one of those but when you have the 2 meta junkers and one of them isn't using their Hades, like the Junker is hard to hit in the first place. So you got to have, two Hades firing at it at the same time if you even want a chance at hitting that, at like breaking the armor. Like the Artemis can deal with it okay afterwards, once the armor is down, because the permahull on the Junker is so low. But you need that double Hades, either going to the balloon and giving an easier target for the successive Hades shots, or like you just need to load it into the hull. But you can't do it with one Hades.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And so you saw them target the Lumberfish over and over, but then they're ignoring the Meta Junker. And
you can't ignore a Meta Junker.
Yeah, if you ignore a Meta Junker, not only are you going to die, you're going to get disabled really quick. And so like that,
and we saw that
it doesn't work
with how defensive at times the Clamor was. Clamor kept pushing forward a little bit, then backing up, then pushing a little forward, then backing up. And we saw that a lot, especially towards the end game, where they simply didn't feel confident enough to get that push forward. As I said in that game itself, if they simply organized themselves, did a reasoned, measured, aggressive push forward over the course of maybe 2 or 3 minutes, where both Junkers using their long-range sides moved in at the same time, they would have had an easy opportunity to finish off that Junker and then take out the Lumberfish before it started causing major issues. Because a balloon pop or two you can deal with, but when you're not really focusing your fire on the 2 Artemis and Hades that's eating you alive, then the Lumberfish is a major problem. You're going to get those balloon pops repeatedly. You're not going to be able to manage all that damage, and then you are forced to pull back.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of gets compounded by the fact that the Lumberjack doesn't need, like we were talking about the impressive accuracy we were seeing from the Lumberjack. So by the time they actually managed to do something to the Lumberfish, one of the balloons has already popped. It's done a fair bit. It doesn't take that long.
Yep. So that's what happened there. Also on your stream next week, Imagine, we have Holy Roman Army versus Art of War.
Well, it's actually probably going to be on your stream.
Oh, right. That's the week. I'm
going to be gone at MLG next week. So because we only have 4 matches overall, I have a feeling we're just probably going to put it on your stream. But
all right, we'll see with the organizers what's going to go on with that. But for the Anvil division, Holy Roman Army versus Art of Warfare, I think, I feel pretty confident saying Holy Roman Army in that one.
You're coming in 3-0 versus 0-3, a team that has basically romped through everything. Let's see because there's official news standings coming out. So Holy Roman Army has 14 kills and only 3 deaths in 3 matches. Art of Warfare has 0 kills and 14 deaths. I don't ever want to count anybody out because, as you saw today, anybody can beat anybody on any given week. But it's going to be a very tough match for the Art of Warfare. So I would be comfortable making a prediction that the Art of Warfare will lose.
We also have Cake versus Zill's Merry Men.
And that's going to be a turning point for both teams. Both teams are 2-1. Cake now with a loss. Can they continue the momentum that they had earlier? Can Zill and his Merry Men continue with the momentum they just got from their second straight win? They're very close. They both have 10 kills in 3 matches. They're fairly close in deaths. All that stuff kind of ends up mattering, but they're very close to each other in every sort of respect. A lot of this is once again going to depend on maps, on map rolls, and it'll be a close match. It'll be a fun match, I think.
What pilots did the Merry Men take against Black Flight Squadron this week? I didn't see.
So it looks like for now we've settled on Zill and Two Left Socks as the captains. Urs captained the first week, but
did he take the Othello? Did Two Left Socks take Othello this week?
No, he took Macbeth.
Macbeth, okay.
Yeah, so you had the Hades light flak.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm glad to see that we're seeing that now. It's been a couple of weeks. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that too. That mid to long range meta combination. I mean, you have everything you need to destroy a ship with that. Absolutely everything. We just haven't seen it really capitalized until this specific tournament. And I gotta say, I want to see how Zill's Merry Men use that to their advantage in that game against the Black Flight Squadron.
Yeah, no, it was especially on a map like Northern Fjords where you had that map go on. There was a lot of Mercury fire going from both teams. Junker.
I love the Merc. The Mercury is an underutilized weapon.
So the Junker had double Merc. Zeal's Junker had double Merc, and one of BFS sides were double Merc as well. So you had a lot of Merc going back and forth. It is the thing is the Merc itself is going to be you're going to be hard to kill with, but it throws the other ship into so much disarray if you can hit with it consistently. And then if you start like knocking engines out on Pyras, like it has so much value if you can hit with it on a regular basis.
Well, I mean, the Mercury is so accurate. I mean, you can, as long as the enemy ship is in arc and your ship isn't moving too much, you can pretty much pinpoint anything on the ship and hit it reliably. And when you use charged ammo, let's see, I think it pretty much just takes out any component from 100 to 0 with one shot. And then if it goes into the armor, if you have the charged ammo going, it does a massive
It does immense amounts of damage.
Like, so...
Yeah,
so the Mercury is
if you're hitting
so
with on a normal basis, the other ship is having its hull ping up and down. And that means you've got an engineer who, instead of, I don't know, maybe firing back its own Merc, and he's now got to just, maybe shoot once, run over, repair hull, run back. Because even if you can't, even with the Merc not being able to kill that fast, you're chipping away little bits of damage at a time, and that will add up.
And you're keeping someone incredibly distracted, because that kind of firepower, you need to focus on it. You need to make sure your team is absolutely responding. And all of a sudden, you have a Pyramidion or a Goldfish flanking you, hitting your engine column. Oh, crap, you died. It's a very chain reaction situation.
The downside of it, of course, if somebody gets in close to you, what's your double Merc really going to do? Thankfully, the Junker can counteract that with the other side being a volley side, which came into play a couple of times today. So it's a good build. I'm not sure if it's the top build, but it definitely works for an open map like Northern Fjords.
Now, one thing I'm also really curious about is Black Flight Squadron, the Bully Boys, are now 0-3 as well. What's going on with them? Like they've had some real solid glimmers of what they're capable of, but they have not been able to put the full product together. What exactly, because you've been able to see them more than us, what exactly is going on with them, do you think?
So interesting thing to note for this week is Brick wasn't flying with them.
Brick wasn't flying.
He was not a captain. Served Daft Wager took Brick's spot. Now I don't know if that's because Brick just had something else to do today. I think it's Father's Day in a lot of places, so maybe he was doing something with that. I don't quite know. I don't know what the situation, but should be noted that Brick was not captaining today. Merry Men fight could have really gone either way. Either one of those teams could have won it. It just so happened that there was one engagement where I think they were trying. Both Black Flight Squadron ships were trying to bear down on Zeal's Junker, and they actually kind of collided because of that. Threw one of the Pyra's arcs off just enough that Zeal managed to turn it around, and then Gilder was like charging a little bit forward. So, the very minor thing that happened in that game, which may have just led to their loss. Regardless, that game, very even. Last week, they ended up losing because of what I'm still considering a really bad positioning for the Pyro that Gilder had brought, which was double Merc front, and he's at the bottom level of canyons in his own spawn, like way out in front, while the Junker's all the way in the back on his side. And the two opposing ships come in, they see him on the floor. He can't shoot up with the Merc because they're Mercs, and they can't rise up fast enough. Gets obliterated, goes into meat grind situation. I think they also had maybe some lag issues last week, so that could have played into it, of course. But it does seem like they have improved every week. First week, it seemed to me like they just got absolutely owned. Second week, it was a lot closer. Bad positioning gets you the loss. This week, a lot closer. So who knows? Maybe they haven't flown together either for a long time either. So it's possible that they're just shaking off a lot of the rust. The problem is that they're 0-3 in a standing where you're playing 7 games. I think.
Yes.
6. Wait, 7?
Yeah, because you play it's
right, and then you play the cross division, right?
So it's because it's 8 weeks and everybody has 1 week off. So they're 0-3 in a league where you have 7 games that you're playing, which means the max they can get is a 4-3 record, and somebody like Holy Roman Army is already 3-0. So even if, and I do think that they will pull out a few victories here and there. I'd
be surprised if
it's going to be. It's who BFS.
I was talking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an uphill climb for them. And some teams in this league are going to go 0-7, 1-6, 2-5, that sort of record. Of course, you don't want that to happen to yourself. But the point is even though they're improving, they're facing a really tough challenge of getting back into position where they can compete for a prestigious playoff spot.
And I will say this: the schedule does not get any easier for them.
No.
Week 5, they take on the Sky Invading Rhinos, which they've shown some teeth.
Yeah, they're definitely a solid team.
Week 6, they take on the Art of Warfare. I have a feeling they'll be able to handle the Art of Warfare. That's probably going to get them either the first or second win, depending upon how Sky Invading Rhinos treats them. Week 7, Black Flag Squadron versus Sacrilege. From what I've seen,
yeah, Sacrilege pretty solid.
Yeah, Sacrilege is playing pretty well. And then week 8, Cake versus Black Flight Squadron.
Yeah, and that'll
come out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I can see, like, the thing is with Cake, who knows how they're going to go as well. They start out really strong, but they might fall off the same way that BFS start out weak and they might finish strong. Regardless, they can. I wouldn't expect more than 3 win season from BFS, unfortunately, and that's just having started out as poorly as they did. Don't give up, never surrender, that sort of thing. But the more you play, the more better you're going to get. And I'm hoping that it's just a matter of BFS just shaking off rust. And I think, the first week they went with a squid. And thankfully they got off that real quick, but that's still a loss. And
you don't like the squids at all, do you?
No, I love the squid. I think it's a great ship. I do not like it for the way that our current competitive scene is going. I don't think it's a ship that's you're gonna be able to. You might be able to pick up some wins, but I don't think you're gonna be able to win with the squid on your team.
I think that it's very situational. I think that it works with very specific builds, but
it's
not something that you can.
Maybe if the other team has a galleon, maybe you can squeeze that out. But it's going to be so hard to murder or win a full game with a squid versus the other teams that are going against now. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think that the squid is like less situational compared to an opponent because it's going to run into trouble with pretty much like every kind of build. Some a little bit more than others. I'd say like the bigger problem is its pairing. Like, and a lot of the ships that we see right now just do not complement squids. Like, you don't want to run a squid with the Metamidian. Like, that's silly. Like, the Metamidian is already a support ship. Like, it's skill, but it's essentially there, if it sees an opening. Hades, like if you have a Hades Artemis ally, I mean, that thing is also kind of a support ship. I mean, in essence, I mean, you might use it with like a sniping galleon or like even maybe a brawling galleon that could work pretty well. But with the ships that we're seeing a lot of in this tournament, I don't think it has a place.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately how it is right now. There are, a good 3-4 ships that I can honestly say that's going to be tough for any team to win with. A galleon is going to be rough. Depending on what the map is and depending on who you're facing against, depending on what you're running, like Sacrilege won with one today. But it's going to be a little bit rough to win with a galleon. It's going to be a little bit rough to win with a Spire. Maybe even Muglers are going to be a little bit tough, but they're all, I think, higher than a squid. I think squids right now, if you're taking it, you're looking at a very, very tough game ahead for you. And I would love to see every single ship extremely viable, but right now squid is just not in one of those places.
Also,
not as bad as Spire.
The Art of Warfare, another team that has been on the anvil side of things, now 0-3. I've said before that I think they just need to put a lot more time into their practice. I know they play a lot of different games, semi-competitively or competitively. What brings them back? They're now 0-3. What do you think, brings them back?
Soul searching, honestly. You gotta. It's at this point. It's not for them. It's not about builds. It's about how committed they are to this. Because if you're 0-3 and you've gotten 0 kills in 3 weeks, you can easily just throw in the towel right now and be like, well, we're done. And then, do you start forfeiting games. You're like, well, if we're not going to get any kills anyway, why were you even playing? That sort of thing. It can spiral out of control real quick. So they have got to refocus themselves, commit to the game. Don't let the losses so far bring them down to a point where they don't think they can win any, and they go into games and it's really like kind of, oh God, we're going to get murdered, just absolutely slaughtered here. And they showed signs of that resiliency today. They held out for quite a long time against the Art of War, or against Sacrilege. They made one crucial mistake to me, in my eyes, is they actually got around behind the Art of Warfare or Sacrilege on, it was Canyon Ambush, and then they threw a spot down. And that alerted Sacrilege that, oh, this team has actually come out of their spawn all the way back into our spawn and now are behind us. They're not close enough to start firing yet, but they have seen us, which means they can't be in this place, this place, this place, or this place, or all the way back in their spawn. Let's turn this around and let's go hunt for them. And it's little things like that they're going to need to focus on, and not get their spirits down, because as we saw today, Hughes came and beat Clamor. As we saw today, DPA, who also in the first two matches hadn't done extremely well, came and beat Overwatch. So it's going to be a matter of finding if they want to really compete.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Any closing thoughts from you guys as we wind down the post-game show for this week 3 of Hephaestus competition?
Well, I will say that the standings are so squished together right now. You have I know on Anvil's side you have 4 teams that are 2-1. And on it's a little bit. You have a lot of actually 1 and 2 teams on Hammer's side, so it's close, guys. And you have 2 teams that are right now kind of in front of everybody else in the Thralls and Holy Roman Army, but everyone else is almost just squished together in this large hodgepodge of possible playoff contenders. And so it's going to be a continual story here, where we're going to continue on playing these exciting matches and figure out who's going to win it out at the end. And hey, as I said, and we've seen, anybody can beat anybody. Just watch, because this is really the creme de la creme of Guns of Icarus play right now, right? Like, you're not going to see anything better as far as competitive play in Guns goes.
Oracle?
I said that this was going to be the defining week. And I thought that we were going to really start seeing like which teams are going to get knocked out in before the silver playoffs. Because like correct me if I'm wrong. I had someone arguing with me in chat. I'm pretty sure like only the top 2/3 of teams go into the silver playoffs.
Well, Puppy, I believe Puppy's still around, or Alistair. One of them will correct us because they are the organizers.
Well, either way, though, I mean, I thought this week was going to be like when we saw, like certain teams really stepping forward, certain teams like falling like significantly far behind. But with these 2 upsets, like these 2 upsets are huge, and they've really sort of thrown a spanner into the gears, and I think it's sort of extended the life of this group stage. I mean, now, like I thought that after this week we were going to see, which teams are going to be like definitively on bottom. We were going to see like the low, like which teams are in the lower third, which teams are like up in that upper 2/3. But now it's anywhere. And I think like the one thing that we've learned this week is any team can make a mistake, and the teams are good enough at this point that they'll capitalize on those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yep. There it is, folks. This is going to be a very close matchup. Again, next week, we're going to have 4 different games for you coming right at you, including Ryder versus Mad Hatters, Musosaurs versus Deadpool's Army. 2 upstarts, really, so far. They're going to be 1 and 2. One of them is going to get a second win for the record after that one. The one is going 1 and 4, which is not going to be where they want.
Yeah, we're gonna see. We have to see something definitive like in the next couple of weeks.
Also, I am excited to see Cake versus Merrymen. Both of those teams are not necessarily the big hitters, although I certainly thought Merrymen would have a better record than Cake at this phase, but it seems like they're having an issue putting
everyone else
together. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
I will say this though: Two Left Socks. He's one of my favorite pilots to fly for.
Good guy.
I haven't flown for
him
forever, but it was always fun flying on his blender fish. Anywho, Cake versus Merryman. I am so excited to see who comes out of that one. That's going to be a brawl fest. If I know those two teams, both those teams are going to be really pushing for that win. Anywho, that's been the post-game show. Imagine, where can people find your stream and your videos?
So on Twitch, you can find me at twitch.tv/Imagine42. On YouTube, it's youtube.com/Imagine42Gaming. I'm going to start putting up the VODs for today's matches in about 20 minutes or so. I just got to cut this quick one together, and it'll be up after that. Yeah, those are two places. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd really like. It's at Imagine_42. And you can hear all my silly ramblings on there.
Oracle, you have your stuff you do as well. Tell people where to find your stream.
Yep, twitch.tv/4thOracle. I have that's tomorrow. The Sunday community skirmish is going to be there. And of course, every Friday, number 4 is coming up next week. I have the Metamidian, the talk show that just I get people from the competitive scene in and chat with it. And in a couple of weeks, Imagine is going to be on. So he's going to be on the June 27th show. And so far, if all goes well, it looks like we're going to have Scrimscraw as this coming interview. Yeah, this is going to be pretty cool.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's always a lot. I don't know. The Metamidian is always a lot of fun. And the time slot is going to get changed. I know a lot of European viewers have had trouble seeing it at the time. And finally, I have the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity up to this point, but I'm going to be switching it over to before the Iron Fork. So it's going to be 2 hours before the Iron Fork instead of half an hour afterward.
Okay, so that was good. Iron Fork starts at 4 p.m. Eastern, so you're now going to have the Metamidian at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. GMT every day, every Friday.
It starts at 5 p.m. EST.
5 p.m. Right, so 3 p.m. EST. I keep forgetting that the Iron Fork got switched up there.
Yeah, it's fine. It's going to be at 3 p.m. EST. So that's Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be significantly earlier for everyone. Hopefully, the Europeans can catch it now and not have to just hang out in the VODs. All right, and of course, on my channel, you can see the one that just passed. That was with Tanya Fanul last night. But I also do some streaming for fun. I do a lot of FTL. I've gotten into Natural Selection 2. That game is so much fun. I do some Binding of Isaac sometimes. It really is just kind of up to my whim. But the big stuff I do now is sort of the Guns of Icarus.
Okay.
Yada yada.
Distracted by Sammy there. Sammy is not allowed to do that to me at all. Oh my God. God damn it, Sammy. Thank you, folks, for joining us here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. Check out our VODs, youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show. We'll have them up tonight and tomorrow for your enjoyment. For Oracle, for Imagine, and for Rob, and for the Hephaestus Challenge, I have been Dan. That has been Hephaestus Challenge week number 3. Thank you for joining us. Good night now.
Wait! What?